Hi, I'm Coach Chris of Velocity Weightlifting and welcome to the first episode of our podcast on Masters Weightlifting. Today I went down to 1111 in Harrogate and had a chat with my coach Mark Nel. Please watch and enjoy. Hi, Chris Buck. This is our Masters Weightlifting podcast video. I'm going to be chatting with Mark Nel. I've been a competitive Masters Weightlifter now for probably about 18 months, 2 years. So, Mark?
Well, I've been in the industry, started lifting when I was 14.
Okay.
Lost my way a bit when I was about 21, 22, as you do, but that's being South African. It was still, at that time, we were still coming through all the apartheid stuff, so we weren't allowed to compete internationally. So weightlifting wasn't really a big thing. I remember my first weightlifting comp in SAs as a youth. I think there were 6 of us in total there. Right. Obviously, as we've evolved as a sport, as CrossFitters brought weightlifting into the scene.
Yes.
They had SAs a month ago, 2 months ago, and I think they had 100 odd athletes in almost each category trying to qualify for SAs or something. So It's become a very big thing for us now. But yeah, I've been around the block for some time, lifted a bit, competed internationally, did Worlds 2 years ago.
Yep.
And I've been coaching I've been a coach in different forms for about 20 odd years. Right. So yeah, weightlifting, I've been coaching for 7 years, 8 years, 9 years. Just 12 years, about 12 years in total. Yeah. I was saying the other day, sitting with Kelly and saying, you sit there, and I was filling out all my dates then, and she's like, well, that's 2007. I'm like, no, it can't be. And she's like, well, yeah, it is 2007. You're like, fuck, time is, it goes quickly.
It does go quickly,
Yeah.
So was it in 2001 that you got your world ranking? Was that right?
No. 3 years ago. So just before I came over to the UK. So during COVID.
Right, okay.
It was so it must be
2021.
2021.
Well,
that's what
I'm
talking about.
Yeah.
It's a 20-year gap in
so
there.
easily, yeah.
So I think it was 2021. 2020 was the online. You had to compete online.
Okay.
It was the first virtual one, and then from there, virtual competitions became a massive thing. And now I think you get a virtual, you can qualify. It doesn't matter where in the world you are nowadays. I know I do for SA now. You can virtually qualify for your country and all that kind of jazz now online. So it's become a big thing.
Okay.
Yeah, 2021.
Yeah. I just wanted to touch, just for people that don't know, that when we talk about Masters athletes, we talk about lifters being over 35. Yeah. And then the age groups going up in 5-year increments from that. Yeah. So 35, 40, 45, 50 and onwards. So
so Masters, anything 35 over.
Yeah.
So there's quite a few variations for Masters. So I'll be 81. So for people that don't know about weightlifting, you get weight class as well. So you have per age group as well as per weight class, whereas as an opens lifter, you've only got per weight class.
Yes. Yeah.
So Masters has quite a wide spectrum. You got each weight class has a age specific weight group as well.
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
So I'm 81. Again, getting old memory doesn't serve me well, but I was I was 81 because I used to compete as a 77 when I was 35, and then they took the 77 weight class away, and now there's only in 73 and 81.
Oh, okay. So are they Olympic weight classes? Yes, they're the Olympic ones.
Yeah, you follow the Olympic weight classes. So, so 2 years ago, so it was 81 weight class. Masters 40 to 45, 44.
Cool. Good stuff. So I think moving on from that, really, I think it'd be a good idea just to touch on the benefits of weightlifting for people, aside from competition. So just like general health.
Yeah, I think my biggest thing with all sports, not just weightlifting in general, all sports, is people get kind of delusional with what they feel they have to do. Like if I want to go run on a Saturday, doesn't mean I'm going to run a marathon.
No, yeah,
doesn't mean I'm going to win it.
Yeah. No, it
and
should be a steady jog type.
Yeah. I'm going to have fun with it. And weightlifting should be the same. Like you don't have to do weightlifting because you're going to go stand on a platform, because you're going to go win it, and you're going to be the best in the world. You just go and weightlift because of the benefits of obviously the foundation to all athletes. And if you want to be any good at weightlifting, it's that body awareness, plyometric speed and power, and mobility and flexibility. You have to have that. But before you even worry about how heavy you lift, you've got to worry about having those bases. And so for general public that just wants to well, do I do this because it's good for me? Well, speed and power is good in everything you do. Range of motion and mobility is good in everything you do. And if you're pretty good at picking things up, when you start getting to 45, 50, 55 plus,
that's it.
Your kids, your groceries, it helps with life in general benefits. So, for me, weightlifting I was lucky with weightlifting. I just, like I was saying, it wasn't a big thing in South Africa when I started because of the whole coming through apartheid and all that. And I just happened to stumble into a gym that the coach there, Martin at the time, Warren's gym, he was the SA weightlifting guy.
Right, okay.
And so I just happened to be at the right place at the right time
Nice.
got into it.
Yeah.
And so it's definitely something with my life experience that I would sit down with people nowadays and put it in the top, even for kids, the top 3 things that individuals should be doing on a regular basis. Again, because of those benefits of any sport that your child wants to play at a later stage, they're going to need speed and power, they're going to need mobility, they're going to need body awareness, they're going to need all that. So definitely something that they should look into putting kids in.
Yeah.
For masters, like you naturally got strength. As an older person, you've naturally got some
you've
form
gone
of
through
physical
your
strength.
life lifting things up, picking things, carrying it over here, even if it's just simply the shopping, picking it up from the trolley. So you've built some
You've
form
got
of
some
strength,
form of raw strength.
whereas you might not so much as a child.
100%. So if you master the technical element as a master's athlete, so you get to 35 and decide, well, I'm going to now master weightlifting. If you master those foundations, if mastered well, you will naturally lift heavy. You will move more, you will be better. And so it has more benefits to me as a master's athlete for life than it does for whether I want to be a weightlifter or not. And so I think that's something that anybody who's like, I'm too old to start weightlifting, bullshit.
Like
that's a crap excuse. Go work on your mobility, go work on your flexibility. You'll lift well, because you're naturally strong already. You've got that development in it.
And I think as well, you don't have to worry too much about, I might not be able to squat quite as deep as Joe over there. It doesn't matter. You just sort of squat to your depth, really.
And I think that's, again, the delusion in it. You go and watch the professionals. They're a 20-year-old.
It's for the fun to watch.
He's got mobility. You got to compare an apple with an apple.
And
if you go and look at a lot of people over the age of 50, they're most probably not going to get to depth.
No.
So, if you're going to go to the big, high-ranking platforms and all that, you'll go there. But even if you watched Worlds this year, when we watched Worlds this year, there's not that many. There might be 1 or 2 that get good range of motion, good depth. But at that age, we're naturally losing our range of motion. So that's what we train, and that's what we practice, and that's how we design programs for masters athletes. But the reality is you go to as low as you possibly can go. You go to as low as the technique allows you, and you go from there. If you're working with a 20-year-old or an 18-year-old, I get it. You've got to get to depth. Why? Because you're going to have that weight that you've got to get underneath you. But exactly, you don't have to. You're not. If you ever decide to enter a competition as a weightlifter, they don't mark you down for power cleaning or power snatching.
No.
So it's beneficial, but it's not essential. If that
you don't need it to start lifting. So you can sort of come along and you've got what you've got, and you can work on your ability and your flexibility, and then try and improve it as you go. I think that's
and you've seen in classes quite a bit as well. That is what puts people off.
Sometimes
I don't want to enter a comp. Why? Because I can't squat to depth. You don't have to.
It doesn't matter. You don't get marked on that.
They don't mark you down for that. So can you do the basic movements? We'll start there. And so I think that's a.
I think in a competition where actually sort of like as you go into your squat, the only thing that you've got to look out for is your elbows not touching your legs.
Yeah.
As long as that's not happening, you're going to be all right.
Yeah, 100%. You can screw everything else up. You can be on your toes. You can have your knees forward. As long as your elbows aren't touching knees, or another part of your body doesn't touch the floor, that lift is deemed well done. You've done well.
Yeah.
So I to answer the question again about weightlifting and general public and that, I think masters athletes, it is an essential skill to work on. I get going to the commercial gyms are fun, but you're never just going to sit on a machine.
No, that's it. Yeah.
Your quads don't work that way. Your thighs don't move like that. Your hamstrings don't move like that. Like, you've got to learn to squat. Why not learn it in what's going to benefit not just for the squat, but it'll benefit in movement patterns, it'll benefit in range of motion, it'll benefit mobility. So over and above learning to use the machine, you should want to learn to weightlift.
To move it freely, to be able, not be restricted by. I mean, machines are great for sort of rehabbing any kind of injury, because you're there, the machine's got you. You're not going to go outside of that particular thing, but
As you know, with me, I'm a big believer of everything has a time and a place. I don't believe in the fitness industry. It's always evolving, shit's always changing, and so it should be something that's like, there's a time and a place for it. Is this the time for you, and is this the place for you? Well, that's what us as coaches analyze and look at. And if you've got a good coach and you come in and you're like, well, it's my first day, well, then they shouldn't be prioritizing how low you can.
No, that's it.
It goes into the sport, and yes, we need it, but everything has a time and a place. And same with commercial gyms. You've got an injury, you need isolation work, all that kind of jazz. You need that environment, but it's not an essential.
No, definitely. No, far from it, And I think that's the beauty of knowing you're a masters lifter and lifting with other masters lifters as well. There isn't that pressure to go as deep as a 21-year-old, or to be quite as snappy as a 21-year-old straight out the blocks.
And I always talk about when I was a youngster and the weightlifting scene wasn't that big. If you're a masters athlete now, get into weightlifting, because it's not big yet. Again, I was told by my mentors years and years ago when CrossFit first came out, and there was all this like, CrossFit's bullshit and blah, 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 all this crap. My mentors turned around and said, well, everything's got a time and a place. And if you think before then, cycling wasn't a big thing. Then spinning arrived. And all of a sudden people trained during winter, and there was this vibe to spinning, and all of a sudden all these cycling events came. And my mentor at the time said to me, Mark, CrossFit will do for weightlifting and powerlifting what spinning did for cycling. And 100%, that's exactly what it is. The masters divisions are growing rapidly, but that's because people that are younger go into CrossFit, they get the buzz and the rush of CrossFit, but there's only so long you can go at that pace for. And so then they get to the 35s and they're like, there's no way I'm going to compete against this 18-year-old anymore. Well, I enjoy the lifting. And then they transition into the weightlifting element of it. And so the sport is growing.
Which is good.
And so, get on the train now kind of thing. It's like,
definitely.
if you're a masters athlete now, get on the weightlifting train now, because it's still new, it's still fresh, it's growing, and it's growing rapidly. You can be a part of that journey. So like you're saying, you go on the scene now, and you'll see a lot of people don't squat to depth.
No.
They don't do the technical lift, as we would call it, but they're new to lifting. The masters weightlifting wasn't a big thing. And I go back to when I was 35, and it was the same kind of thing. I was like, yep, you're dead when you get to 35. That's it, you're done.
There's a lot of, I remember reading a book, and like the first chapter was, no good after 35, that's it, you're down, you ain't scrap yard, that.
I thought that was me done. And then, he's flipping, Rodney. He was my coach in SA. When I go to 35, he introduced me to the whole world. There's a whole masters world. There's masters Olympics. There's masters swimming. There's masters. So anything before that, you never hear it, because all they ever advertise is the six-pack, well-built physique athlete of the 19-year-old, 20, 21-year-old. They don't go and put us as masters athletes. Like, look at this dad bod that lifts half the range they're meant to. Let's put him on. That's not going to sell anything. And so you think after 35, you think, fuck, I'm done. But there's a whole world out there of masters sporting events and everything that you can get into And so Masters weightlifting is growing.
Yeah.
And that is a good thing to see as an avid lifter myself.
Definitely. And I think that's partly why I wanted to focus the theme on Masters weightlifting, was to try and maybe debunk some of the myths regarding it as well.
Yeah. So, I think the first thing for me with Masters weightlifting is ego. If you want to be a good master lifter, you got to put your ego aside. And I think a lot of people, weightlifting in general is put your ego aside, but Masters lifters it's like when you're a 4-year-old, you don't really understand the nerves, you don't understand the fear, you don't understand any of it, so you just fucking go and do it.
Yeah.
And then you learn as you go. But as we get older, we've fallen down too many times. We've had things happen in our lives. We've had people say something. Our brain develops a bit better. We understand a bit more. And so we actually make the decision before we've actually walked the path.
Yeah.
And I think Masters weightlifting is very much like that. People will look at it and be like, I'm not good at that.
Yeah, it's that fear of failing before you've even tried.
Yeah. I don't want to go on a platform and have everyone look at me. I promise you, when you go on a platform, you see nothing.
No, that's
like people are worried about all these people watching. I'm like, I promise you, you see nothing.
Yeah.
You are so worried about that bar that's in front of you that you
Yeah.
actually don't care who's in front of you.
Yeah.
And so I think that's, for me, Masters weightlifting, I think that's the biggest thing people need to get over.
Pretty much, I think so. Yeah. Just
just
get past that. Get yourself through the door.
And you've been on the scene long enough to know that in enough comps, there are people out there doing just the bar.
Yeah, definitely.
That's confidence. That's somebody who's like, I don't care what anyone says or think. I'm going to give it a go. And so you're most probably not going to be the worst person out there. There's always somebody who's learning. There's always somebody who's developing. And we don't have enough masters comps. And so you go up against the youngsters. And there's going to be some guy that's going to go throw 160 flipping kilos over his head.
Yeah.
But there's also going to be a 15-year-old or a 16-year-old who's learning the technique.
Yeah.
Who's only got 25 kilos or 15 kilo bar, and they're learning the art. So you'll be competing with somebody. You won't be the last person there. It's very rare that happens.
I think going back to sort of like my first comp and when I took JM, it's easy to get into a mindset about being the first one out on the platform, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. There's no one there sort of watching you or judging you. It's all about going out and sort of making it look pretty, really.
Yeah, on some levels I agree on that. On others, I'm like, they are fucking there watching you. So why load the bar super heavy?
Well, yeah. When you look,
why don't you just take a light bar and make it look pretty?
Yeah, I definitely agree with making it.
I was taught that. I coached that.
Yeah.
That's what my mentors told me, and that's how I move forward with my coaching. Is I would rather go watch somebody make it look beautiful than some thug be like, I can, the worst lift ever, 100 kilos goes over their head and it's horrid. I don't care. I don't want that. So people are going to watch you. So why not in your training routine as a masters, would you not worry more about making it look right than you worry about how heavy you lift? The minute you get that mindset in, you start realizing, I can enter comps. Why? Because all it's good is going to look pretty.
Yeah.
If it's 5 kilos and it looks good, I can promise you I have more appreciation for a 70-year-old who walks on a platform with a 7 kilo barbell and gives full range of motion, gives a good split jerk, receives the bar nicely. And so I have more respect for that knowing what that individual had to do to be able to do that. Even though it's only even though it's only 7 kilos, than somebody who comes in and gives me a shitty 50 kilo. I'm like, there's 43 kilos there, but I'd rather watch that 7-year-old masters than sit and watch the guy.
And there's a good chance there as well that the guy who's gone out and made it look pretty, he's going to make all 3 lifts. The guy who's gone out and he's tried to be a thug and he's tried to put that 150 up, he could fail that 3 times quite easily. He's bombed out the competition, and you've won with a 7 kilo bar guy.
And even deeper than that, if you look at the coaching side of it, the same kind of thing. What are you going to want to be coached by? A coach that comes in and says, lift whatever you want, lift however you want, don't give a shit, put it over your head, or a coach that goes like, let's make this look right. Let's make this look pretty. This, that. Well, everybody wants to be inspired by that person rather than somebody's like, up's up. Well, no, it's not up.
No.
Rather just deload the bar and do it right.
Yeah.
So when you go onto the platform, that's what you should be thinking about, is the prettier I make this, the better it looks. Whether I win, lose, come last, doesn't matter. The better it looks, the more respect I earn.
Yeah, definitely.
The shitter it is, I could win.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, and that's what again, my mentors told me, Rodney and Steve, you can go stand that platform and take first place if you want. Do you want a whole group of people to watch and be like, that was shit. He's taking first, but that was ugly.
Yeah.
Or do you want to rather come fifth and people be like, that was brilliant. You looked good.
Pat on the back after you
lift. I was watching you lift. That was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'd rather have that than
Definitely.
fucking worry about whether I win or lose. And it's very easy for individuals to do that. They tend to worry about whether they're going to win or lose, but they don't. They tend to worry about what people think when they're lifting, rather than once you've won. If you lifted shit. People are still talking.
Yeah.
If you're worried about going on the platform, tell you what, they're talking more afterwards if you win and you've done a shit job.
Yeah.
They're talking more about it. So rather go in and make it look right, rather go in and make it perfect and look beautiful, than worry about whether you're lifting 150 kilos or not. Like, dial that shit back. And that is going into masters, like training and programming. How do you program for a masters? I very rarely, and you know this, I very rarely for masters program anything over the 87% bracket. It's, if you want to get stronger as a masters, squat, bench, deadlift. Like, go do that. Keep it in a nice, safe environment. Make sure that you are building the muscle mass that you might need. But for lifting purposes, if you can give 5 ones at your 87%, there's a good chance that during competition, you're going to get that 102%, that 105. You're going to land that lift. You're going to get that PB. Why? Because you're mastering the art of the movement. And so from a programming perspective, masters programming is very different to what you would an opens athlete programming side.
So at about 87%, that would be leaning towards training strength over speed, wouldn't it? So without going too deep into programming.
The dumbed down version is, if you want to build technique, build anything under 70%. If you want to build that transition phase of where you're trying to replicate the lift as what it's going to be, anything between your 70 and 85%. And then you just increase the volume of that. And then if you're programming anything above that, then you're trying to program more of the strength element of the movement. And that's like, I know there's people that are like, oh, well, actually, there's a whole technical aspect to it, and how many reps you do, and how many times you should do that weight, and blah, blah. That's not what. The basic version is improve your speed, improve your technique, anything under 70%. Coming up to a comp, building towards it, and we're talking masters athletes. Masters athlete, we're not, like I said, I know there are people that'll be like, oh, so and so. We're talking masters. We're talking people that
we've got to
have
look
jobs.
after ourselves a little bit
have
more.
jobs, have kids, have lives, have all that kind of shit. Building up to a comp, spend more time in the 75, 85 bracket, and that'll prepare you for the comp, and then only randomly touch those max lifts. And even then, not even the hundreds. I think, how many times have you had 100% attempts in your program? I think.
Not very often. It's just like heavy for the day. It's
100%.
Max for the day rather than just an outright max. So it's like, how are you feeling that day? You know, if it's been a heavy week, you might, I might have been sort of like building patios 3 or 4 days. If you come in and you don't feel you can get to 100%, and you lift heavy for the day and it's 95%, then that's it's
sporadic. It's random, but you spend majority of your time under that. And so that's where I think, again, going back to what we said earlier, the fear of people having is like, I've got to lift heavy. Well, you actually don't. You actually spend majority of your time at the 75% and under. You're spending more time, because as we get older, we lose speed, we lose coordination, we lose mobility. So you're actually spending majority of time as a masters lifter under the 75% bracket. And then you're only sporadically going into your 85s and that, and then even then that is pushing the boundary. inverted commas, relevant to what the athlete's lifestyle is. And then, like you're saying, sporadically going into the, do I lift heavier than that?
Yeah.
All your other strength developments in weightlifting should come from squat, bench, deadlift, isolation type stuff, where you actually build that muscle mass.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's a very different approach to a master's program than an opens program. And again, like I say, I've been in the industry long enough to know all the, but. Yeah, a 35-year-old is a master.
Yeah.
But they're not masters.
No. I think that's a bit of a...
Yeah.
You can get a bit sort of waylaid with that.
Yeah, and I think that's
where
where again, you've heard me in classes and that bitch and moan about it. I hate when an athlete comes and tells me, I saw on Instagram. Yeah, I get it. That's that moment. But when we talk masters and then you come with a video and you show me a video of a 36-year-old, yeah, he's not really masters. Like 2 years ago, he was in the open bracket.
Say world records.
Yeah. That post that he's posting, contradicting what has been said, because he's a masters athlete. Yeah, it's for him to get clickbait. It's for him to ask questions.
Yeah.
There is a different cycle for an athlete that is 40 to 45.
Of course.
45 to 50, 50 plus, versus an athlete that's going to go 35 to 40. And we will, any youngster that watches this be like, oh, these fucking old guys on about age. Yeah, and I was there. You've heard the saying enough times, it's not bullshit. You turn 40, you wake up the next day and you're like,
where did that come from?
Life just changes. And you've got to spend more time lifting. You've got to spend more, and again, going into the program side of it, spend more time lifting the basics.
Yeah, you just warming up, preparing yourself.
In theory, it's the old saying of life. You come from nothing as a baby. You learn to walk, you learn to do everything, blah, blah. You get to 80, you go back to being a baby. All of a sudden, somebody's changing your nappy. You're lying around, you're decrepit, you're not moving. The loop goes round. Same with weightlifting. When you start with a kid weightlifting, you give him a PVC pipe, you teach him mobility, you teach him range of motion, you teach him line, when you start becoming a master's lifter, you spend more time training, but you actually spend more time doing the shit that you did when you were 13, 14, 15. Get the PVC pipe out, find your line, find your range of motion, find your technique, find everything. That shit will serve you better,
of course,
in your lifting than you going, load me up to my 95 and I'm going to do every minute on the minute. I'm going to do one.
Then you put your hip out and you're like, God, right, that's me for a month.
Cool when you're in your 20s. Cool. Like I love watching Maddie Rogers. I followed her for many years. I love seeing her smash out her EMOMs at a heavy percentage. That shit ain't happening as a Masters. If you're a Masters athlete and you think that's what you're coming for, no. If you're a Masters athlete, grab yourself the broomstick and that's where you're going to go. And to go back to what we said earlier, for anyone that's scared of starting weightlifting, if you're a Masters athlete, you're scared to start, are you scared of the broomstick?
Yeah, that's it.
In reality, a good coach is going to put you on that. A good coach, as a Masters coach, is going to be like, you're grabbing a broomstick. So what are you scared of?
Yeah, that's
go
it.
learn it.
Yeah.
Do what you did when you were a kid.
Yeah. So I think what we've just touched on there as well takes us into the next thing I'd like to cover as well. It's we've mentioned as Masters athletes we have other things, we have family lives, we have jobs outside of our training. So I just want to touch on how we manage the demands of weightlifting training. I know personally, I like to do it first thing in the morning. I like to get up, think, right, okay, the hours between sort of like 6 a.m. and 8:30, my phone's going to be quiet. There's no one going to be ringing me. I know I can sort of comfortably go to the gym for that sort of time, get my training done, come away, and then face the rest of the day. I know you don't kind of have that option so much, do you? Because obviously you're running the gym at 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
So
I my training is very sporadic, but again, a good coach analyzes the athlete's lifestyle prior to. Like I said, I'm a lifter who's been lifting since I was 14.
Yeah.
So learning the movements, I don't need to worry about. finding the range of motion technique, I don't need to worry about. So for me, sporadic training is acceptable.
Okay.
I can kind of go in, I can run a couple of drills, I can lift the bar a bit, and I'm going to do okay.
Yes, yeah. So you don't have to worry too much about the sort of drilling the technique in.
Yeah, 100%.
You've got that dialed in already.
Yeah, so my training program would look different. I can do more weight. I have the time to come in and be like, well, I've only got 30 minutes. What are you going to do? I don't have to spend the time learning about the line and the technique, the drive. I can go and load a bar.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, then your time should be spent learning the basics, because your body doesn't understand stress.
No.
It doesn't understand this is work stress versus weight stress. If my life involves, I'm a 35, 36-year-old, my kid's 7 or 8, weighs about 25 kilos, wants to play wrestling, wants to go to football, wants to play rugby.
Yeah, wants to run around the park.
Yeah, wants to run around the park. You're training.
Yeah.
You're not training the intensity to be the best athlete in the world, but you're training. And so you are getting the muscular stimulus that you are looking for out of your training. So when you get 30 minutes and you're like, I don't fucking have time, go grab a boom strip for 30 minutes. Run the drills for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You will get the same result at the end.
I think it's like we said before, we are, as adults, naturally getting the strength training.
Yeah.
Just from everyday life.
Everyday life.
Picking up shopping bags, there's your deadlifts, bending down to pick something you've dropped, you're squatting down, that sort of thing. So you getting the strength side of it.
There is a, who was it? I had it earlier. There's a book that has that. Who wrote it? Masters for Weightlifting.
Rob Mitten?
Something like that, yeah. There's a Masters for Weightlifting.
Yeah, I think it's Mitten.
You read his book and the athletes that he's worked with and his training cycles.
Yeah,
Same
he
kind of
actually
thing.
interviews 10 athletes.
Exactly,
That's it, yeah.
They don't go to max lifts. They stay well away from any percentages that could cause injury. Why? Because if you're stiff and sore that you can't do your normal life, you will very quickly understand how much muscle you. It's one of those like, I didn't use my little toe. Go stub your little toe. Go hit it on something that you can't put your shoe on. You realize, well, I can't walk properly. I can't. Like, it feels insignificant, but it's super significant. Same kind of thing with training. I
think some of them guys only train like three
days a week. Yeah, 3 days a week. Because when you can't pick your kids up, when you can't do the movements, when you can't squat down, you all of a sudden realize how much work you do in a day. You realize, I can't pick that up, I can't pick this up. So when it comes to training times and cycles for a master's weightlifting, you've got to kind of look at your lifestyle and be like, okay, how many days a week do I need to train? Well, what's not going to make you stiff and sore? Whatever version is. Technique, lift a bit, whoever yours that. But you've got to assess that first before you decide what your program's going to be and what you're going to do. You assess that first and be like, all right, what does my lifestyle entail? Are my kids 18, 19? Well, I'm not going to. I don't go pick my son up from school and 18-year-old, you show me a parent whose kid comes out of school at 18 years old and runs up and he's like, oh, Dad, give me a hug.
Usually the other way around.
Doesn't want to fucking see you. But are you a parent that has a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old? Well, you must probably picking that kid up a lot. You must probably walking into town or whatever, and he's like, oh, my legs are sore, and you've got to put him on your shoulders, you've got to carry him through. That's 20 to 25 kilos that you're moving on a regular basis. So you've got to analyze that first before you worry about what program you're going to do. And I think that's what makes programming for masters so hard. You've actually got to, the program never looks the same because someone like yourself, you are like myself, we're hard laborers. We move a lot of tonnage in a day. Our program would look very different to somebody who's like, well, I'm a banker and I've got no kids. And well, your program would look very different to mine. Yours is time constraints. Mine's weight constraints. And so I think that's the biggest thing with masters weightlifters. You've actually got to take their lifestyle into consideration, and you can't just do random programs. You've got to analyze that quite a bit. And again, reference with yourself is that, again, is why there's so few heavy lifts. I do so few heavy lifts because we are both masters athletes who have hard jobs. That then means coming in and doing 100%. Wake up tomorrow, I can't feel my fucking hamstrings. Oh, great.
Yeah.
You lifting again today? Most probably, but I'm going to lift shit.
Yeah.
Why? Because I can't do my real job. I can't lift as well, and so now I've screwed up my program for the rest of the week. And so that train in the morning versus train at night, relevant if you are an elite athlete in the opens and you're trying to maximize recovery. You know, you train late at night. What does my full 24 hours before I train again look like? All that kind of jazz. Am I doing a heavy session in the morning and a light session in the evening? All that kind of stuff that goes in it. As a masters athlete, it's not. You got the time? Yeah, we do it then.
Yeah.
How hard you go? Whatever's not going to cause problems tomorrow. And I think it goes back to a lot of what the Instagram posts are all about now is a consistency. Consistency, especially as a masters athlete, consistency is key. If I can only train 3 days a week, as long as they are consistent, and the conversation I had with an athlete the other day, don't come and tell me, I train 3 days a week, and I go, all right, show me your schedule. Well, last week was Monday, Wednesday, Friday. This week was Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Next week is Saturday, Sunday. That's not, you're coming to the gym, but that's not consistency. The consistency we talk about is, my body understands that every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm doing X. Once you've dialed that down, then you start worrying about how long the sessions are.
Yeah.
And so the most important thing for me with the masters athlete is, when I write the program, is what is going to ensure that you are A, recovered by the next session, and B, keep you consistent. If you are somebody who comes to me and goes, yeah, I'm going to do 5 days a week, your program is going to be a lot easier. It's going to be a lot less. Why? Because you're consistently going to abuse yourself every day.
Yeah.
If you're an athlete who's only coming, you got a 1 day recovery in. Well, yeah, that will look different. We can ramp up the volume a little bit more. We can put a few more fancy things in there because you'll have the recovery day and then you'll lift again. You have it. So a bit of a tough one in what's the best.
Yeah, I think
routine.
It's specific to each individual.
Yeah,
really.
It's not like open lifters. If you're a 20-year-old and that's your job, I get it. Pull the manual out and be like, these are my upper body, lower body. These are the days I train. This is my rest and recovery. Cool. When you're a masters athlete, that book doesn't apply.
No.
I have read hundreds of masters weightlifting manuals, books, you name it. They're all different. Every single one's different. And you've kind of got to read all of them, find out that one doesn't fit my lifestyle, and this one does. Okay, we'll take that one. Doesn't mean this one's wrong. It just means this one doesn't match my lifestyle.
Yes.
And I think that's the biggest thing with masters weightlifters. You've got to find the one that matches your lifestyle and then build from there.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on from that, how well, I think we've covered some of it there. How you approach moving on from being like a successful senior athlete into being a masters athlete. Not so much on the sort of lifestyle style, but we've talked a bit about how we shouldn't be loading up and we shouldn't be going, well, perhaps not going to the 100%. In regards to the results and perhaps not being able to sort of hit the numbers that we did as sort of like younger people or yourself did in sort of 2021 sort of thing, or even earlier, how would you get your head round that and sort of like setting yourself new goals, really, do you think?
You don't. I have had 2 bulging discs, and that's because I want to lift what I did when I was 17, 18, but I'm 44.
Yeah.
And I am a culprit of it. I have a 5-year-old, and I've had to dial myself down over the last 2 years and realize life's changed for me. It's different. I've got to approach differently. And so my advice to a lot of athletes now, from my experience, is as a youngster, you can have short-term goals.
Yes.
You can have short-term. You can have, in the next 3 years, I want to achieve X. And that's fine, because the intensity and the workload that you need to put in, you have the time to do it. Yeah. You have the ability to, you have the...
Your body will take...
Your hormones that you have, your testosterone levels. For the female side of it, you haven't given birth, your core strength is better, all that shit. We can sum it up into a 5-year program. Be like, yep, 5 years, we're going to make it to the Olympics.
Yeah.
Cool, can do it at that age. When you turn into a masters athlete, you've got to take that 5-year plan. You've actually got to put it into 10 years. You've actually got to sit and be like, all right. We always talk, when we talk to our elite athletes, we always sit and say, all right, 5-year plan. A kilo a month is 24 kilos a year.
Yep.
24 kilos over 4 to 5 years, we're talking about 100 plus kilos on your lift. If you've got 100 clean and jerk today, we're saying in 5 years, we want to be close on 200. Obviously, weight class dependent, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But that's what we're kind of doing. As a masters lifter, you're going to go, all right, let's take the same scenario, apples for apples. I want to be at that weight. Well, now you're not doing a kilo a month. You're going to double it, so I need you to do 500 grams.
Yeah.
All I need you is every month put 500 grams.
Yeah, just keep building.
Yeah, make it longer. The story I always talk about is 4 years ago. I forget her name. It was when I first started into masters, and I was looking at the masters, seeing the masters weightlifting. It was a Chinese lady. She broke the 81 to 85 year old clean and jerk,
right?
40 kilos. And they interview her and they say, well, what was your training program like? She says, well, I just waited for everyone else to die. And I was like,
that could work.
That's a valid point. What did she do? Well, I did this weight when I started. I think she had started when she was 72 or 71 or whatever.
Okay.
She had her 40. She had whatever she could put over her body at that time, whatever it was. I don't know the actual facts of it, but whatever it was. And all she did was every year she said to herself, if I can just lift what I did the year before, everyone else will die. And I will win. And I was like, yeah, okay, that's...
As long as you don't die before you...
Yeah, 100%. So what does your training program look like? Well, my training program is not to lift heavier. My training program is how do I live longer? Why is that a shit plan? It's not. Every other person, you're like, I've got to lift heavy. Well, you're going to kill yourself. You're going to pop a knee out. You're going to dislocate your back. You're going to do it. Like you're 70 plus. You're going to go. Her strategy was I'm just going to stay fit and healthy.
Yeah.
Keep doing what I did the year before, not try and improve. I'm not trying to get better. I'm not trying to lift heavier. I'm just trying to do what I did the year before. And eventually my competitors will die and I'll win. Obviously, having that mentality, progress sucks. You can say you don't want to improve, but as your technique gets better, as you lift more, you will improve.
Yeah. And almost it's an interesting point as well, because saying you're not going to improve, I mean, almost still being able to lift 40, being able to lift 40 at 80 and then still being able to lift it at 85, it's improvement. The number might not have gone up, but the improvement is there.
Sinclair
you're still doing that.
The Sinclair takes that effect.
Yeah.
Your Sinclair will drop. You will get better at your Sinclairs. Why?
Yeah.
Well, your age has changed. Your 4-year variance takes into consideration, and your Sinclair changes, and you have improved. And so, for me, that's the biggest thing. That's what I've now changed my mindset to. My mindset now as a lifter is I don't want to lift heavier than what I did last year. I want to lift what I lifted last year.
Yeah.
And
by
so
that you are.
And by that I am improving. And so what I've done is I've looked at worlds and gone like, all right, 10 years from now, how many people are lifting what I'm lifting today? None. Okay. Yeah. So if I can lift what I am lifting today in 7 to 8 years, in theory, I should win.
Yeah.
And so my training perspective has changed. Rather than trying to win now, my perspective has changed to I just want to do what I did last year. And so I ring the bell every start of the year.
Yeah.
So next year 44. All right, when my time comes to give me that max lift day, and I hit the same weight that I did last year, I'm like, that's a PB 44-year-old, not a PB weight. It's not I got a new weight. That's an age PB. Well done. That means my Sinclair's changing. If I can ring the bell.
Yeah.
And so I
Which
just
is what the
mindset.
Masters divisions are about. They're about increasing in age. So, that's almost answering our question, isn't it? If you're doing what you were doing in the previous bracket, you're winning.
You're winning, 100%.
Yeah.
So the training cycle might be different. The training cycle might be different. The focus of what you are training might be different, but the goal, that changes. The goal is no longer to lift heavy. The goal is to sustain what you've got. Yeah. If you sustain what you've got, you will get better. Not that, and well, it is. Nowadays, we're in an era of instant gratification. I want the results today. There is a result today. What you lifted.
Yeah, you were here.
You were here. There's a result there. If you accumulate that Anatomic Habits, that book, 1% every day. If you accumulate those 1%, by the end of the year, you will get better. Because you were consistent, you turned up every day, you did what was needed, you will naturally get better. You coming in and going 105%, 105%, 105%, yeah, you'll see progress faster than somebody who's turning up every day. But after a year, you're gone, you're out, you're injured, you've got a problem, you're off for 6 months. That person doing the little bit every day, they're still going. And
well, that's similar to that story of Milo, isn't it? Where he's got the calf. As a young boy, he sort of lifts the calf up, puts him on his shoulders. Next day, lifts the calf up, puts him on his shoulders. And as the calf gets bigger and bigger and weighs more and more, he's carrying more and more until... whether he actually carried the bull, I'm not sure.
Yeah. I haven't seen the video. They didn't have videos back then. No YouTube click for that. Yeah. But 100%, Chris, that for me is also a big thing with... a lot of people. I was I'm not the most emotional person there's out there, and I don't like the hype about shit, because the reality is there's two sides to every coin. Yeah. If I say absence makes the heart grow fonder, or is it out of sight, out of mind? Which one is it?
Yeah.
Which one do I believe?
Yeah.
Whichever one you care about.
Yeah.
And so it's the same kind of thing. The reality about it is, do I have to get the PB? No. Do I want to live for a long time? Yes. Will I get a PB? Yes. So either way, you're winning.
Yeah.
You've just got to decide which version of winning you want. And all they do on Instagram, and that's the part that pisses me off, is they take the part that causes the most conflict. The reality is they're not wrong. They're not wrong. What they're saying is not wrong. Yes, you should be, if you are on this journey. Yeah. But it is wrong if you're on this journey. And then what does the person on this journey, he contradicts this one, says, this is bullshit, this is wrong. Well, you're actually both right.
Yeah,
absence makes the heart grow fonder, out of sight, out of mind. Yeah. You just got to decide which one suits you, and you follow that. And I think that's where a lot of confusion for people is, that they're on the long-term journey, but they're just getting bombarded with people saying they're wrong because these people are following this journey. If you follow the journey that you want, you will get the goal that you want. And so, can you be a masters athlete and train 5 days a week and go hard and do all that? Yeah, you can. Just understand that there's a reason Liu Xiaojing retired. Yeah. Because there's only 10 years. Like, you can't train at that intensity for eternity. You are going to have to dial it down some. All sports. CrossFit, why isn't Rich Froning competing anymore? Well, he's now over his 35s, and he can't do what he did when he was younger. So there's that time frame. Do you want to do it in 5 years? Yes, you can. Just understand what goes with it. Can you do it in 10 years? Yes, you can. My advice, and that's me as a coach, my advice is always take your time, do it over 10 years, make it look pretty. Yeah, you get definitely that shit right, the rest will happen. Yeah,
I like the mentality of making it look pretty. I think that's got to be the way forward.
Yeah. And again, you're always, and you've worked with some people over your time now, and realize that most people forget that. They just want to lift heavy. And it's like, I
get where they're coming from. They'll see other lads in the gym, and they want that instant success. They're like, I want to be where he is now. And
So I had a coach back in the day, Mike Burt. His approach to it was like, you can do it if the world champ does it. We didn't have squat jerks back in the day.
Okay.
Like, you fucking learned to split jerk. Liu Xiaojing came along, squat jerked, and it was like, fuck yeah. He's doing it.
Yeah.
We've got to learn it. You can apply it if you have seen the world records. And I think I said it to you way back when we first started off, was weightlifting, since its inception in the Olympics, is one of the only sports that has changed very little.
Yes.
Bar how they load the bar, and they don't put the cannonballs in
there. Yeah, with the full shot. And
yeah. But it's almost the same sport. Why, in the fucking 100-odd years that it's been around, have you discovered something that no one else ever thought of.
No.
You have this, I'm going to do it in 2 months. I'm going to get this shit right tomorrow. What have you learned in your time that has proven hundreds of years everybody's wrong? Just go through the process. All right, let's learn the basics. And so in that,
and there's enjoyment in learning the process as well, 100%. And learning the basics.
And Chris, in that mentality, how many Olympian golds, how many top 100 in the world athletes have shit technique? None. So really. Why do you go into a class? But like, I don't care if it's shit. Yeah. I'm going to show you that I can lift really heavy with my shitty technique. Well, you're not. Because the line of successful individuals, the line of people that have done this for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years, tell you technique is key.
Yes,
learning the movement is the essential part. But people just want the instant.
You've only got to look at the way you move through the sort of ranks in the Chinese way. Your technique, they drop athletes off, don't they? As they move through, as they grow and they get older, as they're not as good, they drop off out of the system until they get to the point where they've got those guys that have that amazing technique that they can go, right, cool, nice one, let's load them up, let's get some weight on there, let's get that strength going now.
It's my background, I studied National Academy of Sports Science, and they work more, they're now, the spin-off was, who are they called? They're now called Exos. Athlete Performance was what they were called before. And they work with the NFL guys. Before they go to the combine. And one of the biggest things I ever learned out of that whole process was the combine, when they choose the NFL guys to sign the $1 million contract, they don't sign on whether they can play American football or not. They sign on, can you pass the following tests? You have to pass those tests first before you get to go throw the ball, before you get to show your technique. You've got to pass all these tests first. Why? Because this is to show that the rigorous amount of pressure and strain and training and everything that's going to go in, you're not going to break. I'm not going to sign you for $1 million a year, and after the first training session, like, shoulders gone, I'm out. That's me done. Yeah. They're looking for a certain behavior pattern. Same kind of thing with weightlifting. If you want to do this to be successful, you need to learn X, Y, and Z. Yeah. If you want to do this as a master's for longevity, you have to learn X, Y, and Z. And so the minute you encompass that ethos, you all of a sudden realize it's not about how heavy I lift. It's about me mastering the technique of what I'm doing. And so that's my advice to majority of masters athletes is like, dial your shit in.
Yeah.
And understand that you're not useless because you're in the corner with the PVC pipe. Like, I appreciate the respect I get for going to comp and athletes coming to me afterwards and be like, fuck, it was great to watch you lift. Yeah, my coach was such an arsehole, Martin. When I came in as a youngster, my job was sit in the corner for 3 minutes with a PVC pipe above your head. That was my training program. You tell anybody to do that now, they're like, why? What? Until you understand the need for that mobility, that flexibility, that position, that movement, you never appreciate it until you understand that that's what needs to be done. And is it fun? No.
No, I kind of disagree. I do like the technique stuff.
Yeah, but we're talking majority. We're talking majority of people. Well, I've got a job. Okay. So to go back to the statement you were making earlier. What should I? I've got a busy day. I fucking got kids. I've got this. I've got that. How am I going to get my weightlifting right? Pick the broomstick up and sit in the corner for 3 minutes. You can't sit in the corner in fact, turn your kettle on. It takes 2 minutes something for water to boil. Get your broomstick out. Every time you turn the kettle on for a cup of coffee, just sit in that overhead squat. Within 2 months, your lifting will improve. Within 2 months, you will be a better, if not fucking PBing, just by sitting there in that overhead squat every single day that you turn that clock on. So when an athlete comes to me and says, master's lifter, don't have much time, very busy, don't know if I can lift. Bullshit.
Yeah, there's always time.
There's always time. Because the sport it's different with powerlifting. If I'm going to be a powerlifter, and I'm not I was a powerlifter, I competed on the powerlifting platform, I'm not discrediting powerlifting at all. But as a powerlifter, that is how strong you are. Yeah. Yes, there's a technique, yes, there's a master, but that is how strong you are. Weightlifting, you do need to be strong, but before you worry about being strong, you've got to be able to achieve X, Y, and Z. Yeah. So as a master's lifter, this is 90% of your program, with lifting heavy only being this much.
Yeah, well, we're using the weight to create power rather than raw strength.
Raw strength,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
You need to be fast.
Yeah.
And so it's easier for a masters lifter, for a masters athlete wanting to start weightlifting than it is for any other sport. Why? Because your time domains are difficult. Whereas in weightlifting, those time domains are an easy fix. I've got to stretch more. Well, you got 5 minutes every day to stretch.
Yeah. 5 minutes before bed is...
You can fit that in, and it's going to benefit your program. It's going to benefit what you are doing. You are going to see a result out of it. So much so that I believe there's a lot of people out there that will be like, well, the reality about it, Mark, is all sports. Who is the best? Tiger Woods. What are they? They are phenomenal with yoga, Pilates, mobility, flexibility, blah, blah, because that's the foundation of all athletes. Weightlifting just has a more evident spin-off if you're good at it.
Yeah.
Like you can fucking put yourself into a pretzel. That doesn't mean you're going to run the 100 meters in under 5 minutes. It just means you're less likely of injury. Weightlifting, if I can get lower on my movement, I'm going to possibly lift heavier than you.
There's potentials there.
My ability is kind of weightlifting, kind of like gymnastics. If you're more mobile and flexible, you will perform better than most athletes.
You see a lot of gymnasts coming through, don't you?
100%. Because they've got that neuromuscular, they've got that body awareness, they've got that range of motion. And so as a masters weightlifter, my advice to any masters weightlifter is throw the barbell away. Just spend time working on your mobility, flexibility, and finding the line of the bar.
Yeah.
You can do that for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour and a half, whatever you want, you can do that for. All of a sudden, time is not your problem.
No. Yeah.
It's now your excuse. The minute you do that, time's not your issue anymore, it's your excuse. You're like, oh, I don't fucking have time. Now you're lying. You're making an excuse for what you can't do. And guess what? The best thing is you wake up next morning like, hey, I can pick my kid up again, I can do my job, I can do whatever I need to do. I am better at it. And so, small increments, don't worry about how heavy you're lifting, and change the length of your goal. Put your goal as a 10-year plan, 15-year plan, or like that lady that said about, I'm 45 now, what's your goal? Well, in 45 years, when I'm 90 and every other motherfucker's dead.
I'm loving it.
My time to shine. That's
it.
me, I'm ready to go.
Patience is a virtue.
Yeah, that's it. Set a good steady pace, don't rush it, and you will be a good masters athlete. And it won't take you 20, 30, 40. I know we're talking 20, 30, 40 years, but we're talking about people that now want to be the best at their craft.
Yeah.
If you just want to be a regular lifter, you want to move well, you want to be healthy, and you want weightlifting to be something that you are good at, do the basics for 5 years and you'll be fucking amazed at how good you get.
Yeah.
You will sit back and be like, shit, that's not bad. And then you'll walk out the gym and you'll realize, hey, Jeff, can't pick your kids up.
Do you want me to do it for you?
Oh, sad. Fancy Ferrari, can't get low enough into the seat, can you?
Can't
great.
squat down to get in, can you?
You yank yourself. You got a fancy car. Why'd you go buy a 4x4? Because I can't squat low enough. You got to go buy a big car. You got to buy it up here. Why? Because you actually can't sit low enough to get the sports car. Spread long-term goals and you'll see the benefit of it.
Yeah. Okay. Shall we wrap it up there? Save the topic for another day?
Going into programming is a very technical side. But, I think, closing off, I think my advice to athletes that are over 35, get yourself a coach, start small, and set longer term goals rather than I'm going to win now.
Yeah, definitely. Great. If you like the video and you'd be happy to like and share, please do. And if you've got any questions or comments you'd like to leave, please do, and we'll try and answer them. Cheers.